Hello everyone and welcome to Outriders New Horizon. In today's video I'm going to share with you a Technomancer Anomaly Power build using the Torrential Downpour set and thus focusing on the Scapnel as well as the Tool of Distraction. This way we have AoE, Survivability, DPS, single target. It's one of the best and one of my new favorite builds for the Technomancer, although we have the downside of the Minigun. We thus have a better AoE thanks to the Scapnel grenade, and because we have so much anomaly power, we take so much advantage of the Torrential Downpour set that we go over 900,000 anomaly power, which is something very good and scales very well with the set. Before we start with the build, in case you enjoy the content of the channel and you don't want to miss any upcoming videos I release throughout the week, feel free to subscribe. So without any further delay, let's start with our skills. It's very similar to the Minitank build. We're using Scapnel, Blighted Turret and Tool of Distraction. Blighted Turret is there to apply Toxic and to give us an anomaly power boost. Scapnel is one of our main sources of DPS along with a Tool of Distraction, which is the Minigun, not a rocket launcher, to maximize survivability and anomaly power. Initially I've tried instead of the Blighted Turret to go with Fixing Wave. It worked quite well, however I do like the Blighted Turret because of the talents that gives us a 30% increase anomaly power, which scales very well with the Torrential Downpour set. Let's have a closer look at all the armor and mods. We're using the head, the chest and the legs of the Downpour set to have a maximum anomaly power, skill life leads and cooldown reduction. 3 sets will make us Scapnel deal additional cluster damage, and that scales with anomaly power. That's why we need to maximize the anomaly power as much as I can, and I'm using 2 epic pieces with anomaly power, cooldown reduction and status power to maximize the effect of toxic and vulnerability thanks to our talents. Now there's only one flex slot for the mods, the Unstoppable Force. You will lose some anomaly power, however you will increase your, let's say, consistency if you replace this with something else, which is the bang for your buck. That increases the Tools of Distraction 100% extra ammo. This will make things much easier for you in case you found yourself running out of ammo for the minigun. However, if you play this correctly, you won't have a problem. As far as the rest of the sets, we're using everything we can for the cluster grenades. For the minigun, we have to use the Massacre, the best tier 1 mod that will give us a lot of anomaly power boost. That's how we go over 900,000 anomaly power thanks to that. Fortify to maximize survivability, and upgraded gun to increase resistance piercing and thus scaling with Unstoppable Force. In case you don't use Unstoppable Force, you can also replace the upgraded gun with Captain Hunter, which we don't have here because we prioritize the Euthanizer and the Radical Therapy because it applies to all enemies. We also have the Toxic Lead. It's our way to get back our ammo with the minigun. With killing shots, all enemies will replenish 40% ammo in your magazine, and this applies to the minigun. As far as the weapons, we're going to take advantage of the weapon mods using the switcheroo. In case you missed my video, I will explain how we can make use of the weapon mods. First things first, you need to equip a weapon it's not relevant, and we don't need to use it. That's why I equip something irrelevant, and I have the Death Shield and the Lucky Jinx. We need the Ultimate Toxic Bullets and the Fortress to maximize the damage for the Scapnel, and of course to maximize the utility, because even though we have the Blighted Turret, it's a little difficult to apply Toxic to all the enemies, and we definitely need to apply the Toxic, otherwise it's quite difficult to replenish the ammo in the magazine. In case you want to know how to apply the switcheroo, I will explain later in the video in the rotation, and that's why I don't care about the secondary weapon or the sidearm, because we're only going to use the minigun and take advantage of the primary weapon mods. Let's move on to the talents. I don't have actually a flex slot here, unless you don't like for some reason Wipeout, which I highly recommend. It deals a lot of damage in elites and bosses. 20% extra damage when they're below 30% health will make a huge difference. We go here to take Exposing Toxin and Mark for Execution. This way we'll have the improved vulnerability to enemies. We don't need to take the Gatekeeper, we get the Aneta plates. We go full to the Demolisher. We take everything to reduce the cooldown for the Scapnel grenade, and we also take the Adrenalize Antenna, 30% Anomaly Power boost for 10 seconds every time we use the Blighty Turret, and of course we go all the way to get another 50% Anomaly Power every time we use the Scapnel. You don't actually have to invest in anything else, you don't need to get the armor unit, you will go 83% around damage reduction without a fortress, and with a fortress you will go armor capped, and you don't need to get a disturbance coating. I do prefer Wipeout instead of it. So first things first, how the switcheroo and how we're going to use the weapon mods. It's very simple. We have to activate the minigun and then open the inventory. Replace the primary weapon we already have equipped with the one we want to have the weapon mods, for example, the Lucky Jinx or the Death Shield, and close the main menu. After that, the minigun will be able to proc the mods from that weapon. However, you cannot use the weapon mods for the weapon you had already equipped. That's why we have equipped something that we don't care, and that's why we have the Lucky Jinx and the Death Shield, because in case you start the battle and you activate the minigun, you cannot take advantage of the equipped weapon and you have to equip another weapon to get the mods. That's why we have these two options. In case we go to the next battle, you don't have to care to make another switcheroo, you can just switch one in the other between battles. As far as the rotation, I do like to open with Blighty Turret to apply Toxic to enemies, throw all the Scapnels I have, all 4 of them, and then use the minigun, because after I open the inventory and I have applied Toxic to the enemies, it's near impossible to die because we have almost armor cap and we have applied Toxic and we're healing without doing anything. Try to get as many kills you can with a minigun to replenish ammo in your magazine, then start throwing the Scapnel to deal AoE damage and damage to elites and enemies. Try to apply Toxic beforehand to maximize the damage. If you apply Toxic, you deal more than 60% extra damage to those enemies, which will make your Scapnel to hit for over 1 million very easy against elites and high health bosses. That's why I like it so much. And you have to get killing blows with a minigun. That's why I'm not using, for example, the Damascus Offering and Claymore Torrent or other weapon mods, because I need the killing shots to be with a minigun and take advantage of the toxic lead. Otherwise, you have the risk to run out of minigun ammo, and in case you do that, you lose your survivability and you have to go in hiding until your skill is up. It's not a war, you have 23 seconds, but I do prefer to not run out of minigun when I can. There aren't many tips I want to share with you because I already told most of the things you need to know. Don't run out of the minigun ammo, do the switcheroo in case you want to maximize your DPS and having access to the fortress and the ultimate toxic bullets. And the only thing I have to tell you is that the Scapnel is so good that you can plant it in advance and make some things when you, for example, defend the circle. You can throw the Scapnel, wait for the cooldown to come up, and those Scapnels that you have placed in the ground will remain there under 2 circumstances. If the enemy triggers them or if you reuse Scapnel. So for example, we have 4 maximum Scapnel charges and I can have up to 4 Scapnel within the level. If I reuse the Scapnel, it will replace itself. And finally, the advantages and disadvantages of the build. There is no disadvantage, only one. It's very slow when you activate the minigun and you have to walk a long distance very slow. Otherwise, you have excellent survivability, AoE, single target DPS, crowd control. It's also very consistent. However, I do recommend to avoid the following expeditions if you run for solo, because it will take a long time to activate or deactivate the minigun in between, or to just cross these long distances. But for example, in Scorched Lands, you can take advantage and run to the switch that you have to activate, use the minigun there, and you don't have to lose so much time, as you will just wait for the enemies to come to you. Otherwise, the expeditions that have the humanoid enemies, the annoying gunmen and marksmen, will remain hidden until the end of time there, and that are the ones I highly recommend to avoid, unless it's something that you can, for example, find them like the front line or similar expeditions. And that was it for today's video. I really hope this will help you make your own version of the Technomancer Downport Minitank Bomberman build and to solo very easy the Challenge Year 15 expeditions. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch it, and thank you a second time in case you stick around until the end of the video, so feel free to stay tuned for more upcoming videos for Outriders New Horizon and other video games, and as always I wish you all a wonderful day.